Hello, we're back. This is part 2 on our 4-part series on narcissism. Today we are doing the DSM criteria to be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So, Dr. Dom, start us off.
So last time we were talking about traits and where people in particular circumstances or part of the time might be showing narcissistic behaviours, but we wanted to talk today about what is the actual diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, because it gets thrown around a lot.
The word is used non-stop.
And we just want to be really differentiating out because it's a much more severe, does have very specific kind of criteria about it. So just starting off, DSM, it's Diagnostic Statistical Manual. It's the main way of making diagnoses in mental health for America and Australia. There is ICD in Europe. It's not the one I'm familiar with, so I'll be talking to DSM today. And if we have a look, I was just saying to Hannah that there's a real history in how DSM is developed. And when the last time the DSM-5, in the kind of talks prior to that, there was actually real question marks about putting narcissistic personality disorder in because it can be very hard to define.
It's incredibly complicated.
And very variable. But we will be working today on the criteria that were included.
On what we've come up with. Number 1, Dom.
I'll just start so personality disorders, all of them have got the same basis requirements. It's a pervasive pattern of behaviour. It needs to begin in early adulthood or late childhood. It doesn't, if it comes on later in life, it's something else.
And do they all need to have severe functional impact on the person?
Absolutely. There needs to be clear functional impact of the experiences. We use the term psychosocial disability, but basically what we're talking about is it's very much impacting on relationships across the board and capacity to manage in society. How we work with the criteria is we have multiple criteria. There's actually 9 for DSM for narcissistic personality disorder, and a person just needs to have 5 of them to meet the diagnosis.
If you present with 5 out of the 9, you will meet the diagnosis.
And the primary kind of core pattern that needs to be there for everyone is the grandiosity. Secondly, need for admiration, and thirdly, the lack of empathy. These all come in the criteria, and we'll start going through them now. So did you want to do the first one?
Grandiosity. So they're the biggest, baddest thing that's ever happened. They're the best in the room. They can be quite delusional, not really living in the real world, living in their own world with what they think. But underneath that is a very, very weak shell if you break that grandiosity concept.
When we're talking about grandiosity, we're talking about where it's a level where it's really out of keeping what's happening around them. So it's going to be beyond what you would base it on their achievements. They'll often exaggerate their achievements. And really importantly, it's lacking, if you're grandiose, you're lacking in insight and awareness that is not how other people might be looking at your achievements. Next one, preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty. Everything that they're looking at in their lives has to be of that excess. It has to be bigger than, it has to be more than.
I can think of some world leaders like that.
Less.
I'm not diagnosing anyone, but you all know how I feel politically.
Do you want to do number 3?
So, believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people. Everyone's met someone like this.
Yes.
But it's that they only need to be, they're up here, you're down there. They're only with these people.
It's all about power over. That requires putting you into power to maintain that. And part of that grandiosity is they have to put other people down to maintain that.
Sad.
It's
really sad.
Part of
4. Requires excessive admiration. Everybody likes admiration, but this is beyond that. This is beyond liking someone saying that they like your wardrobe. I think that the narcissistic personality disorder, the excessive admiration has to be bowing down at their feet. You're the greatest.
And constant.
The best thing that's ever happened.
As soon as it shifts across to anyone else, they're going to be wanting to pull it back to themselves again. And that comes in then to criteria 5. A sense of entitlement. What we're looking at with entitlement is it's where you've got that unreasonable expectation or expecting favourable treatment. The other one that you'll see, and this is one that people often describe as being a big part of the distress relating to people with a narcissistic personality disorder, is that they will require and demand automatic compliance with their expectations. There can't be any debate, there can't be any discussion. They are right.
7, we've got lacks empathy, is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings or needs of others.
With narcissistic personality disorder, it's a little bit different to in antisocial personality disorder. They simply don't have it. The biological wiring's not there for it.
It's impossible for them?
They literally actually don't have that.
It's hard to conceive of.
They have differences on MRI scans. Narcissistic personality disorder, the wiring's there, but they're not accessing it. And partially they can't access it because if they're in a grandiose, coming from that grandiose position, to include another person's viewpoint, feelings and needs immediately
it would crush them, so yes. They can't do it. Then we've got 8, is often envious of others and believes that others are envious of them.
Absolutely.
Here's the delusion.
Yes, and the victimhood that they can come up with.
The double whammy.
Perceived grandiosity is not being recognised.
So it's the double whammy of I am better, and how dare you not treat me as better. So it's like it's the victimhood and the envy.
Yes,
it's really sad.
And I'm just going to pop back because I think we missed number 6.
We did miss 6, and it is important.
Interpersonally exploitative. This is where this is taking advantage of others to meet their own needs.
This is the really harmful one.
This is the one where they do have a huge impact on others. It's where it relates to how you feel when you're around somebody with a narcissistic personality disorder, because most of us will pick up that sense that we are being used in some way. And it comes in, again, if they're coming from that grandiose position, the only way they can maintain that is using other people to support that position. It always has an exploitative aspect.
And then I think we're up to 9. 9's the last one, which shows arrogant, haughty behaviours and attitudes. Everybody's kind of guilty of doing this, like a little bit, to some extent, like Dom and I spoke about in our previous video with traits, completely different with narcissists.
Yes. And often that will be something that in a person who's got the full personality disorder, people will pick them very quickly. They are not as, hard to pick sometimes as people who just have traits. There's a real brittleness to their arrogance. And it's far more.
I think it leaves a different impression or feeling and emotion with someone who has dealt with someone who has narcissistic personality disorder, as opposed to experiencing some of the traits. So I know we've said there's only 5 that are required to meet the diagnosis, which will be done by a psychiatrist after multiple sessions. Now we've only got a minute left. So to finish up, we're going to talk about the narcissistic personality disorder subtypes, because subtypes are very important. So Dr. Dom, take it away.
There's various different ways to look at the subtypes, but we're just going to talk about 3 main ones today and keep it as brief. The first one is the grandiose. They're the overt. They're the ones that are going to be very highly successful in a business or
like a CEO employment. Could be a narcissist.
Absolutely, but the dysfunction's going to come in other areas, particularly their
like
personal
their family
life.
Often
socially charming initially, but the more temporarily is a very good way of describing it. Very interpersonally exploitative. The other subtype are the covert. They're the ones that are going to come across, they're much more distressed, will present, very much be trying to recruit sympathy and support for their position in their not being recognised for their superiority. And the third subtype we touched on briefly, but it's the important one just to keep coming back to, the malignant narcissist. This is where we're talking about where we've got morbidity with antisocial personality disorder. You're going to see a lot more deliberate, conscious harming of others as part of that.
We did want to add in that there are narcissistic personality disorder often occurs with other comorbidities, which means that it is presenting with other diagnoses.
And big ones there, bipolar disorder, substance misuse and other personality disorders. There we go.
So that is the part 2 of narcissistic personality disorder, the DSM edition. Next time we'll be talking about the impact that this can have on people. So that will be less of a joyful video, but our 4th one will be on treatment options. So we'll see you for the next video. Bye guys.